state health officials are linking the botulism outbreak to a Lancaster church's potluck on Sunday night.
Right now, there are no confirmed cases, but there are 18 suspected cases, including one that killed a 54-year-old woman. Another 21 people are being observed. An antitoxin from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention arrived last night. CDC reps are expected to arrive tomorrow. Doctors say if people with symptoms are given the antitoxin, it will greatly reduce recovery time.
We don't think that there's any danger to the community at large, and that this is absolutely not contagious. Unless you were at the potluck and ate the food at the potluck, you're at no risk for problems.
And right now, the doctors believe the botulism may have come from home canned potatoes or green beans, possibly used in a salad at that potluck. The stress is not from a product purchased from an Ohio supermarket.
Dozens of cases of botulism after a church luncheon in Lancaster. Talked to NBC4. The first case seemed like a stroke.
When I walked in, I realized he was not in the midst of a stroke just by his symptoms.
Now, within days, 22 people were diagnosed with botulism. One woman, in fact, died today. NBC4's Marcus Thorpe spent this day in Fairfield County at the medical center there, talking to the doctor and the CEO about the outbreak. He joins us now. Marcus?
And Kevin, in the first few hours at 5 o'clock, we told you it was a lot coming in. There were dozens of folks who were walking through that door here at the hospital. Now, there were potential patients. They had to do some testing. They had to do an awful lot of things here at the hospital. And so they had to find out, would there have enough room? They worked on treatments. They started working on logistics. They know they saved lives. They also say they were saddened when one patient here didn't make it. The work of saving lives here, it was full speed ahead with this botulism crisis.
It was days. It wasn't just a 6-hour event. This was a much longer duration than even we had anticipated early on.
Dr. Elizabeth Walls was on the front line. She identified botulism early on, but this many patients?
Have you had anything that was even close to this, similar to this?
No.
But this was an emergency, potentially more patients than capacity and equipment. They would try to move some patients.
We weren't really certain where they were going yet. When we looked out the window, we must have had 15 different ambulances sitting here waiting to take our patients to wherever they needed to go.
Doing everything they could to save lives. This team's collective heart broke when Kim Shaw, one of the patients, died.
It was just came in quick, and a lot of things happened that you felt bad that you couldn't really save that one person.
But the scope of this, so many patients with serious breathing ailments, this team is reflective on what they were able to accomplish.
Because people can have so much respiratory compromise, I felt that we did prevent others from dying, and that it really could have been a much more a worse situation.
A real test, a true crisis. It's what they train and prepare for, but it was emotional and taxing.
Physically, yes, but emotionally, that's what we do. I mean, this is why we're here.
Now, this team has already debriefed looking at what went right and maybe what they need to work on in the future. I asked Dr. Walsh if anything really surprised her about this, and she didn't even talk about her own team. She says she was actually surprised by the church members and how closely they stuck together throughout this entire process. The CEO here obviously says he's very proud of his team as well. We're live tonight in Lancaster. Marcus Thorpe, NBC4.
All right, thanks, Marcus. And of course, what a situation that was. Now, we do want to stress again that botulism is not a contagious disease. It's caused by nerve toxin produced by bacteria. Generally, you get it by eating contaminated foods. In this case, investigators say they found it was in potato salad made with home canned potatoes. Medical reporter Ellie Merritt joining us now with more on this outbreak. And boy, it's so rare to see it at this size, Ellie.
Indeed, Colleen. And I checked with the Ohio Department of Health today. Their latest numbers show 22 confirmed cases of botulism, including the death of one woman and another 9 suspected cases. We know at least one person is still hospitalized and that 25 doses of the antitoxin were given to patients. They tell me they are wrapping up their investigation, though, since this outbreak is contained and past the incubation period. But there is always risk for anyone in your home. So here's what you should know about preventing botulism. When it comes to canned foods, inspect them. Make sure they aren't leaking, bulging, or swollen. If it spurts liquid or foam when it's opened or smells, toss it. Of course, when in doubt, toss it out. Colleen?
All right, thanks so much, Ellie. And you can find out more about botulism. We've created a link to the CDC site on this subject. Go to NBC4i.com, click on news links in the red box.
Welcome back. Leaders of an Ohio church are digging for answers. They say one person died and more than 20 others got sick after a Sunday potluck. The church is contacting every person there to find the source of a botulism outbreak. In the meantime, leaders wonder if more will get sick. The story has a lot of you asking, how can this happen? Is it safe to eat at potlucks and picnics this summer? Well, Night on Your Side's Jay Warren spent the day asking those questions just for you. Jay?
Well, you got that botulism outbreak, and then in 2012 there was an E. coli outbreak in our area in Germantown. They never got to the bottom of that. It makes you wonder whether you should skip that big picnic this summer. But the Butler County Health Department says no, you just need to know what the risks are. Cross Point Baptist Church's potluck turned into a true health emergency for members stricken by botulism.
Our hearts break for our church family. We appreciate the community's thoughts and prayers at this time.
In the meantime, investigators are going through the church dumpsters for clues as to what produced the nerve toxin.
We're going into specific homes to test some samples of food that was used to prepare the dishes from homemade canned.
The alarming news aside, Butler County's Health Director Pat Berg doesn't want anyone skipping out on their church picnic this year out of fear.
We need to continue to live our lives. We just want to make sure that anybody that's bringing food to a large group gathering wants to make sure that their food is as healthy as possibly can be.
But she also wants people to trust their gut instinct.
If you're concerned about food that might have been home canned, then stay away from it. It's a good idea. If it's going to cause you a lot of concern and a lot of worry, then don't eat it.
Now, at this point, it looks like the botulism came from some canned potatoes or green beans. And Pat Berg says, though, that when you're eating out of somebody else's kitchen, you're always assuming some degree of risk. So be careful. Jay Warren, 9 on Your Side, Hamilton.
Okay, Jay, thanks so much. Now, once again, we are on your side with everything you need to know about how to avoid getting sick from botulism. The symptoms include blurred vision, difficulty swallowing, and muscle weakness, but it can lead to respiratory failure. The number one way to prevent botulism is to properly can food if you home can foods on your own. You can also boil home canned foods before eating them, just in case. The bacteria most often forms in foods with low acid content, like asparagus, green beans, beets, and corn. There are about 145 cases each year. About 15% are foodborne.
And one person is dead. At least 23 others have been hospitalized after a botulism outbreak in central Ohio. All infected reportedly ate at a potluck church dinner in Lancaster, about 30 miles southeast of Columbus. As many as 60 people attended the event. Doctors held a press conference earlier today.
Botulism is rare but serious paralytic illness caused by a nerve toxin that's produced by a certain type of bacteria. Patients with confirmed botulism have been treated with an antitoxin that is being supplied by the CDC. Botulism, as Dr. Murray said, is not infectious and cannot be spread from person to person.
Botulism poisoning is caused by bacteria from meat or preserved foods that haven't been properly sterilized. Symptoms typically begin 36 hours after eating the contaminated food and can take a couple of weeks before a person can fully recover.
These people are really ill and the care is supportive, and anytime somebody has to be on a ventilator for that long a period of time, it's possible they could do badly. Yeah.
Right now we have 23 suspected cases and we have 1 death, so 24 in total.
I can't talk about a specific patient, but I would say that the fatalities are usually rare. It's 3 to 5% reportedly, and with an outbreak this large, we're right on track for that.
Botulism is rare but serious paralytic illness caused by a nerve toxin that's produced by a certain type of bacteria. Patients with confirmed botulism have been treated with an antitoxin that is being supplied by the CDC.
We did make personal connection with everyone last night that was known to be at the potluck. That contact has been made. For those we couldn't reach, we actually personally visited their homes to make sure that they were aware of the severity of the situation.
If you were at the potluck and you have not displayed symptoms, you should be watched closely, probably for the next 10 days, just to be safe. And if patients were to develop really any symptoms, I mean, the ones you worry about are blurred vision, droopy eyes, have trouble swallowing. double vision. But really, some people came in with nausea, some people, and we don't know for sure that they have botulism, but I would say if you were at the potluck and you feel sick in any way, you should get seen. For the public at large, this is an isolated event, and botulism is not contagious. Unless you ate the food at the potluck, you are not at danger.